Hello everyone, today we are going to explore a book that is less of a book and more of a spiritual intervention. It is a guide to turning off the noise in your head. The book is The Power of Now, written by Eckhart Tolle. If you walk into any bookstore in the world or scroll through Amazon's bestsellers list, you will see this book. It has sold millions of copies. It has been translated into over 30 languages. Why? Because it addresses the single most common disease of the modern human condition, thinking too much. We live in a world that worships the mind. We believe that we are our thoughts. But Eckhart Tolle is here to tell us that this belief is the root of all our suffering. He argues that you are not your mind. In fact, your mind is using you. Before we dive into the philosophy, we have to talk about how this book came to be. Because the author's story is the perfect example of what he teaches. Before he was a spiritual teacher, Eckhart Tolle was an unhappy academic in London. He was 29 years old, and he was consumed by anxiety, depression, and fear. He describes living in a state of almost continuous anxiety. One night, the suffering became so intense that he couldn't take it anymore. He felt a deep loathing for the world and for himself. He lay in bed and thought, I cannot live with myself any longer. And then something strange happened. He looked at that thought, I cannot live with myself. And he asked a question that cracked his reality open. If I cannot live with myself, there must be two of me, the I and the self that I cannot live with. He realized that one of them was real, and the other, the unhappy, complaining, fearful self, was a fiction created by his mind. In that moment, his false self collapsed. He fell into a void, and when he woke up the next morning, everything was peaceful. The birds were singing, the sunlight was precious. He had lost his self, but he had found peace. Now, you don't need to have a dramatic breakdown at 29 to understand this. You just need to look at your own daily life. Let's start with the most fundamental concept of the book, the voice in the head. Have you ever met a madman on the street? Someone muttering to themselves, arguing with invisible people, commenting on everything they see. You probably walked away quickly. But Tolle asks us a humble question, are you any different? If you could amplify the voice in your head and broadcast it through a loudspeaker, what would we hear? I shouldn't have said that. What if I lose my job? Why is this traffic so slow? I need to buy milk. She looked at me funny. Does she hate me? We are all walking around with a madman in our heads. This voice never stops. It judges, it speculates, it complains, it compares, it replays the past, and it rehearses the future. This involuntary stream of thinking is what Tolle calls mental noise. The problem isn't that we think. The problem is that we are addicted to thinking. We identify with the voice. We believe that the voice is us, Tolle says. The beginning of freedom is the realization that you are not the possessing entity, the thinker. Knowing this enables you to observe the entity. This is the first step to enlightenment. You become the watcher. When you hear the voice in your head complaining about the weather, instead of being the person complaining, you become the awareness that hears the complaint. You say, oh, there's that voice again, being unhappy about the rain. In that split second, you're free. You're no longer the thought. You're the space in which the thought exists. So why is this voice so loud? And why is it usually so negative? It is because the mind is obsessed with time. The mind cannot function in the now. The now is too immediate, too alive. The mind wants to categorize, analyze, and control. So, the mind escapes to the two places where it feels safe, the past and the future. Think about it. The past gives you an identity. I am a person who succeeded at X, or I am a victim of Y. Without the past, your mind feels like it doesn't know who it is. The future gives you a promise of salvation. I'm not happy now, but when I get that promotion, then I will be happy. When I meet the right partner, then I will be complete. The mind is constantly telling you the present moment is not good enough. The present moment is not good enough. The present moment is just a bridge to get to the future. But Tolle drops a truth bomb here. The future never comes. When the future arrives, it arrives as the now. When you remember the past, you are remembering it in the now. Life only happens in the now. If you're washing the dishes, but your mind is thinking about the cup of tea you will have when you are finished, you're not living. You're reducing the present moment to a means to an end. You're creating a gap between where you are washing dishes and where you want to be drinking tea. That gap is called stress. That gap is called anxiety. To accept the now is to accept that this moment right here, with all its imperfections, is the only reality there is. But fighting the mind is hard. Why? Because the mind has created a very powerful false entity to protect itself. This entity is what Tolle calls the ego. And understanding the ego is the only way to dissolve it. The word ego is often misunderstood. In everyday language, when we say someone has a big ego, we mean they are arrogant or boastful. But in Tolle's terms, the ego is something much deeper and more pervasive. The ego is your phantom self. It is the mental image of who you think you are, constructed entirely from your past memories, your social status, your possessions and your beliefs. The ego is terrified of one thing, death. Not just physical death, but psychological death. If you stop thinking, the ego ceases to exist. If you admit you're wrong, the ego feels like it is dying. This is why people fight so hard to be right in an argument about something trivial. To the ego, being wrong equals death. It needs conflict to survive. It feeds on separation. It says, I'm right and you are wrong, which makes me feel stronger and you feel separate. The ego is always looking for the next thing to attach itself to. I'm a mother. I'm a CEO. I'm a Christian. I'm a victim. It loves roles, but Tolle warns us, form is limitation. When you identify with a form, a role, a label, a possession, you are trapping yourself. You're forgetting your true nature, which is formless consciousness. But the ego has a partner in crime, a dark shadow that lives inside you. Tolle calls this the pain body. Have you ever had a minor disagreement with your partner? Maybe they forgot to do the dishes and suddenly you're filled with a rage that is totally disproportionate to the situation. You aren't just annoyed about the dishes, you're screaming, crying, or bringing up things that happened 10 years ago. Where did that energy come from? It came from the pain body. The pain body is the accumulation of all the emotional pain you have suffered in your lifetime that was never fully faced or accepted. Every trauma, every heartbreak, every moment of childhood neglect that you pushed down, it didn't go away. It clumped together to form a semi-autonomous energy field that lives in your cells. Tolle describes the pain body as a psychic parasite. For most people, it lies dormant 90% of the time, but it gets hungry, it needs to feed. And what does it eat? It eats unhappiness. It wakes up when it senses a trigger, a criticism, a sad song, a negative thought. Then it takes over your mind, it makes you interpret everything in the most negative way possible. It picks fights, it seeks drama, it wants to inflict pain on others, or it wants to suffer pain itself. Why? Because pain feeds on pain. It cannot feed on joy, it cannot feed on peace. This explains why some people seem addicted to unhappiness. They are not doing it on purpose, their pain body is controlling them. It creates a situation where you become the victim or the villain. Just to generate that delicious emotional energy, it needs to survive. This sounds terrifying, like being possessed. But realizing this is actually the key to liberation, because the pain body has a weakness. It cannot survive the light of your presence. It can only survive if you mistake it for you. The moment you observe it, the moment you feel that rage rising in your chest and you say, I see you. This is the pain body awakening. You break the connection. You stop feeding it with your thoughts. You don't fight it. You don't judge it. You just watch it. As Tolle says, everything is honored, but nothing matters. You honor the pain by acknowledging it. But you don't let it matter in the sense that it controls your identity. So we have the thinking mind obsessed with time, the ego obsessed with identity, and the pain body obsessed with suffering. These are the barriers preventing us from entering the now. So how do we dissolve them? How do we actually enter the now and stay there? Tolle gives us specific portals or gateways into the present moment. These are practical techniques to bypass the mind instantly. The most powerful portal is something he calls surrender. Now, surrender is another tricky word. We usually think surrender means defeat. It means giving up in the context of the now. Surrender means something completely different. It means yielding to the flow of life rather than opposing it. This brings us to the final and most practical part of our journey: how to live in a state of yes. To surrender means to accept the present moment unconditionally and without reservation. It means you stop fighting what is. Tolle gives a brilliant analogy. Imagine you're walking in the woods and you get stuck in deep mud. If you resist the mud, if you stand there screaming, I shouldn't be in the mud, this is unfair, I hate mud, you are not helping yourself. You are just creating unhappiness. The mud doesn't care. The mud is just mud. Surrender is the moment you stop telling a story about the mud and simply acknowledge the fact, I am stuck in the mud. Once you accept the seriousness of the situation, the mental noise stops, and in that silence, a solution arises. You see a branch you can grab. You see a solid rock. Surrender doesn't mean you don't take action. It means your action comes from a place of peace, not a place of panic. So the rule is, accept then, act. Whatever the present moment contains, accept it as if you had chosen it. Always work with it, not against it. This will miraculously transform your whole life. But what if you can't surrender? What if the emotions are too strong? This brings us to the second portal, and perhaps the most accessible one for beginners, the inner body. The mind can take you to the past or future, but your body is always eternally in the now. You can use your body as an anchor to hold you in the present. Try this experiment right now as you listen. Can you feel that you have hands without looking at them? Can you feel that you have feet? If you focus your attention inward, you will feel a subtle sense of aliveness in your hands, your arms, your legs. It feels like a faint tingling or a hum of energy. This is the inner body. This is the life energy that animates your physical shell. Tolle advises us to keep a part of our attention in the inner body at all times. When you're listening to someone, don't just listen with your head, listen with your whole body. Feel the energy in your hands while you look at them. Why? Because when you're focused on the inner energy field of your body, you cannot think. Try it. You cannot replay a regret from 1999 and feel the aliveness in your hands at the same time. It is physically impossible. The moment you inhabit the body, the mind slows down, the madman goes quiet. This is how you bring the power of now into real life. You don't have to go live in a cave. You just have to change how you handle the small moments. Take waiting, for example. Waiting is a state of mind. Basically, it means that you want the future and you don't want the present. You don't want to be here, you want to be there. This creates an inner conflict. Next time you are waiting in line at the grocery store or sitting in a traffic jam, catch yourself. Feel the irritation rising. Instead of resisting it, enter the inner body, feel your breath. Look around. Accept the moment. Suddenly, you aren't waiting anymore. You're just standing, you're just breathing. You have turned a moment of stress into a moment of meditation. Conclusion. Ultimately, the power of now is not about adding more information to your mind. It is about subtracting the noise. We spend our whole lives waiting for the big moments, graduation, marriage, retirement. We treat the present moment as an obstacle to overcome. But Eckhart Tolle reminds us that life is not a destination. Life is a dance. When you dance, your goal isn't to get to a certain spot on the floor. The goal is to enjoy every step. The past is a memory. The future is a fantasy. The only thing you have ever had, and the only thing you will ever have, is now. Make friends with its closing and call to action. As we close this session, I want to invite you to practice this presence today. Open your Dream Life visual journal. Before you check off today's date, take a deep breath, feel the pen in your hand, feel the texture of the paper. Don't just rush to finish the task so you can move to the next one. Be there for the check mark. That split second of awareness is the now we are talking about, and of course, add the power of now to your cozy library Notion template. This is a book that you cannot just read once. It is a book that reveals new layers every time you return to it. Because you will be different every time you return to it. Stop thinking. Start being. The power is in the now. Thank you for listening.